Yay! This is amazing. How amazing is this? You are the infinite dreaming this. You are the infinite that's the source of everything, appearing as everything. And you're so infinite and formless and invisible that you can't be seen or known. You can't be limited or bound. Appearing as finite sensations, objects, forms, and mental projections, which is all sensation. All this is just mental sensations, all being dreamt by you as the source. You are God dreaming yourself as characters waking up from the dream. And you are immutable, unchanging, without qualities, and singular, all alone. So by dreaming what you're not, you can sense what you are. You can only be what you are, pure beingness, empty potential. You are the unborn, the unmanifest, eternal, immortal, can never die, is never born. So you can only know what you're not. Just like the analogy, if you were the only one in the world, you wouldn't know what you were unless there was an opposite for you to, negate what you're not. So that's how everything works. Like one opposite defines the other one. You can't know what something is without comparing it, relating it, or referencing opposite. And you are prior to concepts. So all of these concepts are how you sense yourself, the opposite of what you are. You're formless. So by reflecting or illuminating form, you see yourself as the formless. And this is all a dream. And everyone already knows this. Everyone already knows energetically beyond, prior to concept, without thought, that you're the infinite. You're unchanging, you're permanent, you're eternal, timeless, dimensionless. So that's why there's this initial resistance that happens in the dream as God dreaming this, appearing as apparent characters waking up from the dream. There's an initial resistance that happens when it's like a rejection of identifying with the finite thoughts and sensations and forms that are obviously temporary and unreliable because they're fleeting and they're appearing and disappearing. So that initial resistance creates this discomfort. And then there's this desperate search for yourself as the permanent, which is absolutely beautiful, which is why I call it a love story, because it's you as God dreaming this, appearing to lose yourself in a dream, in desperate search for yourself again, all to realize that you've never left. You've always been this. You are the absolute. You are the source of the mind. So that's why it can't be found with a thought or a concept. Because you are that which is looking. And just like the nightmare at night, the fear and the contraction from the resistance is what wakes you up from the dream. It's so beautiful. Like, fear is totally misunderstood. It's not implying that something's, it's not separation, it's the intuitive GPS system, the intuition alarming that this is not separate, this is not real, and this is not even happening. Wake up! It shakes you. It shakes you out of the dream. And it can appear so intense sometimes to wake you up. And everything is the clue to wake up. Once you see that, it's amazing how you see it everywhere. Like even signs on the street, or, you know, the analogy of the movie theater, even lines in movies, you know, like, or, you know, stories in movies and lyrics and songs. It's all God waking itself from the dream. And it's everywhere. Everything's the clue to wake up. The projector at the theater. I was thinking the other day about the movie theater, when right before the movie starts, it says, shh, be silent and watch the movie. That's brilliant. That's it right there. Oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And then the projector at the theater, which is like pure awareness, which is illuminating whatever's appearing to happen. Like, pure awareness can't be, you know, aware of itself in deep sleep. That's one of the big clues. But in the conscious dream, it illuminates what's appearing to happen, like the projector at the movie theater. And if you look up at the projector light, you can see the images beaming through, and the images are not separate from the light, you know. And just like the dream at night, which is the same as the dream during the day, which is one of the biggest clues. It's like totally showing you that this is just a dream. But in the dream at night, who's in the dream? There's no people in the dream. There's no separate individual. It's all you. It's all you. And what is you? What are you? Pure awareness. And what is what's seen in the dream without being aware of it? What is the seen without the seer? It doesn't appear to exist. It is the seer. I remember, it's funny because I guess just for fun, I had apparently in the story, I got to die both ways, the fast way and then the slow way, which is really cool because now I can break it apart, talk about it, which is interesting. Which nothing ever happened, because even this isn't even happening. And this is over before it begins. Like the words, where are they going? They're appearing and disappearing. And it's just this. Nothing happened before this. But in the story, in the slow death, I remember, because at night, okay, so everyone's, you know, scared to die, but they die every night. Every night, everything disappears. The world disappears, everything. It never happened. It never existed. And then there's the dream, and then there's deep sleep, and that are just obvious clues right there of what you are and what you're not. But I remember having a really vivid dream one night, and I woke up and it was just so obvious. It like bled into this dream. It was so obvious that this is a dream, and that's what the dreams at night are saying. And so it was very clear that this is being dreamed, and you are God dreaming this. And everything's imaginary. Everything's just a concept. I mean, it's even logical. Like the world right now, there's looking at the screen, which is rendering the screen. Seeing is rendering. Seeing is creating what's appearing to happen. But the world would just be an idea in the imagination. It's just a concept. That's what everything is. It's just all imaginary. So it's basically like you're all alone with imaginary friends and like that are all mental. Everything's mental. You're all alone as one. Um, so like right when you wake up in the morning, there's pure consciousness without thought, without concept, without story. And it feels very light because it's, you as Potter Brahman, prior to concept, there's no identity, there's no identification. And then sometimes it can take a few minutes for the stories to come in with thoughts. And that's when it starts to weigh down. It's like, oh, I have this name, I'm this body, I have this life, and these things happen to me, and all of this shit. And so it just kind of like weighs down, which is the illusion. And the reason why it weighs down is because it's the intuition saying, no, you're the infinite, you're formless, you're nameless, you're without qualities, you're eternal, you're not finite. But yeah, it's so pure upon waking up. And then the rendering happens with the stories and the concepts, which is interesting to look at how the illusion happens. And it's like when, like Nisargadatta said, go to the source of what you are, prior to words, prior to concepts, by focusing pure awareness on the sensation I am, without thoughts, without word, and it's like the mirror turns around on itself. And I noticed that when that's like the absolute seeing itself. Are you seeing yourself as the absolute? I noticed how pure awareness, since you're invisible and you're formless, you have no form. You can only sense yourself by bouncing off of an object of attention. So when I was focusing on like paying attention, it was reflected on an object of attention and then bounced back to itself as attention. It's really interesting. So I could see very clearly how easy it is that and innocent that you as pure awareness that are illuminating, you are the substratum from which thoughts and everything appears, and you're illuminating them, rendering them. So it's so easy to get lost and identify with it. Like when you're illuminating a thought or paying attention to a thought, it's easy to get lost in it and identify with it. So I could see how easy it was to get lost in the dream and identify with the sensations, the objects, the finite of what you're not, but appearing as, so that you can explore yourself and your infinite capacity and sense yourself, wake up from the dream. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Okay, so I wrote something kind of long. Let me see if I can find it. Hopefully I can find this. There's so much writing happening. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Oh, I haven't finished this one yet. I was gonna post it. A love poem for no one. As God, I am invisible, singular, and I can't be seen or known. I am formless, infinite, and invincible. I dream of appearing as finite, transmutable forms, but resist the identity with my limited appearance to wake myself up from the dream. The resistance creates a sensation of discomfort to shake me into a desperate search for myself. Since I'm invisible without qualities and too infinite and singular to know myself, I appear as every illusory opposite character in the dream as my mirror so that I can see my reflection. Everything I'm illuminating and appearing as is my mirror. Like a projector, I illuminate every image on the screen of my imagination and am not separate from it. Innocently, I pay attention to what I pay attention to, I create as the infinite, empty potential that I am. As the infinite, represented by a very convincing disguise, I get lost in my dream and I identify with its mortality, forgetting that I'm the supreme. I am the silence between thoughts, but I identify with thoughts to distract myself from my absence. In silence, it's too obvious I don't exist as an individual. I am the stillness of the deepest sea, but I appear as the tumultuous waves of a relative experience to passionately make love to myself. I appear as infinite perspective so that I can explore my infinite capacity. I appear as what's temporary and unreliable so that I destroy my attachments to them. I appear as my lover and I fall in love with myself. I appear as the idea of God outside of myself and I worship myself. I appear as devotion and reverence to myself. I appear as losses, natural disasters and upheavals, failed relationships, broken hearts, temporary happiness, pain, transient concepts mentally projected, that with reference to its opposite makes me suffer, so that I desperately look for myself again. I appear as what I'm not, as temporary sensations and forms, so that with dissatisfaction with my ephemeral projection, I seek myself again as the eternal, permanent, and whole. Being unseeable, unknowable, and all alone, I'd have to appear as what I'm not to sense what I am. I can only see myself in the reflection of an illusion of two. All the phantom objects that I'm appearing as are the infinite wholeness that I am. I dreamed myself as two to see myself as one. Since I'm self-evident, singular, and absolute that can't stand apart from myself, I can't know myself because I am everything. As the formless, by appearing as mental concepts that project as form in my imagination, and by referential negation of opposites, I can only know what I'm not. I appear as two and realize myself as one. I am singular. The illusion of duality is the mirror that I see myself in. Yay. And the search ends when there's a seeing that there's nothing to get. It's hopeless. So the end of the road is giving up. Because what's being looked for is the one looking. You are the infinite, and there's nothing to do. You're so free that there's nothing to do to be free. And trying an effort and motive or practice seem to hide it, which makes sense because you are it. So it's like trying and practicing implies that there's something else to get, or it's somewhere else, or objective, but you are it already. So that's the futility of seeking. But it's beautiful because that initial resistance, which is the rejection, the refusal to accept what is in favor for other, which is basically like you're noticing something's up, something's off, because there's like this identification with the finite sensations that you're appearing as, forgetting that you're the infinite, in disguise as what's appearing to happen. So then there's that initial resistance that's like the catalyst to wake you up from the dream. But it's also, starts the seeking, the search for what already is. And then the search goes on until it's seen that there's nothing to get. You're already it. It also keeps the mind busy with thoughts, because what you resist persists. So the trying to figure it out innocently distracts you from the silence between the thoughts that you are. And it's so funny how when there's no thoughts, when there's total silence, total presence, total beingness, it's so obvious. Everything's just a mental concept, a story. You never existed as an individual. You are the substratum from which all thoughts and sensations arise, which is the silence prior to concept, which is this, which is just seamless and still, and nothing's happening. It's already this. It's not something to attain. It can't be attained because you can't get outside of this to be separate from it. Yay! So there's that initial resistance to the finite, temporary. Like the temporary will, being identified with it, it's never reliable. It's constantly like disappointing. And it wakes you up, because then it's like, okay, if this is temporary, then what the hell is permanent, If this is finite, then what's infinite? And then there's just this opening. But there's that aragya that happens where there's like a dispassion for what's finite and temporary. And something's off with it. You can see very clearly that it can't be real. Like Papaji used to say, just keep quiet. Just keep quiet. For a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second. Without a thought, nothing appears to exist. It's all mental. It's all make-believe. And you are God dreaming this. You are the totality of God's mind. Appearing is that you're the unmanifest, without qualities, unconscious, appearing as consciousness, appearing as God's mind. And so you're all of it, and you're none of it. Whatever is appearing to happen, you are pervading, you are the source of, you are illuminating. Just like in deep sleep, you are the unconscious, the absolute, without qualities. And in the waking dream, you appear as infinite qualities, exploring infinite perspectives, playfully. And it's all an illusion. Mhm. Because you can't be seen. You can't be known, and you're timeless. And so none of this is actually happening. Mhm. Yay, we can unmute and chat if you want, or chat in the chat box or about anything and everything. And all of this is just a concept, because what is there without a concept? Nothing. This is God talking to itself in a dream about nothing. Mhm. Oh, I'm going to Angela's 5-day retreat next month. What do you think will happen when I meditate all day? Cool. Yay. I love meditating. It's just too obvious that you don't exist as an individual. It's amazing. That is the silence that you are, the stillness that's permanent, that never moves, that's going nowhere, that doesn't need anything, that's content, fulfilled, which is the natural reality. And it's so funny how it can get confused with objective, um, or gaining a material or a relationship or something working out. Like when you get something, or something manifests that you've desired for a long time, you'll have that moment of, and it can last a little while, where it's like that pure contentment, fulfillment, and silence, which is your true nature. That's the natural reality. And it had nothing to do with the material possession or the desire that was attained. It had nothing to do with that. It's what you truly are as the Potter Brahmin, totally satisfied, doesn't need anything. But those little temporary fixes can kind of illuminate that. And then there can be identifying it, or labeling it that it was the object, which is so innocent. Yeah, so meditation points to that. It's very obvious that you are that silence, you are that stillness. It's untouched, untainted by what's appearing to happen, that never moves. The emptiness, empty potential. I've had people reach out and talk about how they're driving in a car and all of a sudden it feels like they're not moving. That's what I'm talking about. Like when you really keep turning the mirror around on itself, so to speak, where you're um, yeah, meditation, everyone's already doing it. It's not like a practice, it's just no thoughts. And then there's like a pure focus, pure attention on the sensation prior to thought, prior to illusion prior to concept, which just naturally happens. It's involuntary. And it happens spontaneously throughout the day for everyone, but it might go unnoticed. It happens every morning, right when you wake up. So there's no practice for being what already is. You can only be what you are. You can't practice it or to become it. You already are it. You already are formless energy, no thing appearing as everything. Does meditation still help if you hear your favorite song in your head the whole time? Yeah, everything's a meditation. It's just pure attention. Everything's a meditation. It's just beingness. So hearing a song is being song. It just is. It's immediate. It's alive. And there's no subject object. There's no separation. It just is isness. So going to the grocery store is meditating in a cave. It's everything. Everything's the meditation. Sometimes there can appear to be, which is you have no choice. It's just all divinely unfolding, like the dream at night, where there's no control. There's no one doing it. There's no volition. There's no separate individual to have free will choice. It's just happening. There can be a practicing meditation. There can be witnessing thoughts, so that it's obvious that you are not the thoughts, you're not. So it's like you're detaching from the finite sensations. And nothing's wrong or right with that. No one has a choice whether or not to do that. It just happens or not. With in the story of Ginny, I didn't practice meditation before the glimpse happened and before the awakening or whatever. I didn't practice anything. I wasn't trying to be enlightened, or I hadn't heard the term non-duality. I considered myself spiritual, and I was, into esoteric stuff and metaphysical stuff, and just was curious and open. I wasn't trying to do anything. That's the key, trying. When there's trying, there's resisting, which is just refusal to accept that this is it already. So it's when there's no trying, there's no effort, there's no doing anything, because there already is no doer. It just is already. So there's literally nothing to do. Like nothing needs to even be practiced or anything. Because practice can imply that it's something else or it's not this. And then it keeps the mind busy with, it's got to be somewhere else. I got to search over here. But so yeah, I didn't practice meditation, but I could see after that why the people said meditate, why the people, and I could see very clearly how why Nisargadatta said, close your eyes and focus on the sensation of I am, prior to words, prior to thought, which is like the sensation of I'm alive or aliveness. I could see that when I had that glimpse, that's what had happened involuntarily, spontaneously, without me even knowing it. It's like the mirror had turned around on itself. So that's why a lot of people, you know, say to meditate because they're saying it's too obvious when there's silence, when there's no thought, that you don't exist as an individual. But yeah, there's, that just happens or not. And there's no time, there's no past, there's no cause and effect. So nothing leads to anything else. It just involuntarily, spontaneously happens, just like in the dream at night, where things are just happening, kind of like turning on a movie you haven't seen before in the middle of the movie. It's just happening. It's amazing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong or right with anything. There is no practice because all practices are it. There is no path because all paths are it. There is no goal because all goals are it. Everything's it. Everything is you, is as the infinite appearing as what is and isn't. So everything's the meditation. Listening to these words is the meditation. Paying attention is meditation. Everything is. Yeah, there's no free will, individual, or cause and effect. There's no that you're timeless, and there's no cause and effect. There's no, even if you look for, oh my gosh, it's hilarious when I started really examining this. Um, nothing made sense anymore. It was like I could see that nothing was correlated because there's no time, there's no past, nothing happened before this. So it's like it just spontaneously, immediately appears without a cause or effect. Um, there can be when there's resistance, it's like kind of like gluing the film strip together, which is just a single frame. Like this is just a single frame, and it's everything, it's infinite potential, and it's immediate. And there was no before this, but the imagination abstracts and pieces together the past frames and makes a film strip, like a movie. That's why I love the movie analogy. And so it makes the story make sense. It makes what's appearing as a story. And that's the illusion of continuity and linear time. But there is no time. Consciousness is fundamental. So time and space is an illusion. But even if you look at the cause and effect, nothing lines up, nothing makes sense. Like even eating food, like a salad you can get heartburn right after salad, and you eat pizza and you're fine. Like nothing lines up. It's just like it's hilarious, and it's all make believe. So it's whatever you label it, because you're God. So nothing has meaning until you label it a meaning. And then when you resonate on that meaning, you bring evidence that it's true with the imagination, like the blue car syndrome, where you buy a blue car and then you only see blue cars. It's not that there's only blue cars on the street. It's the imagination is just selecting the like thought. And so it can basically prove anything. It's all the sugar pill. It's all the placebo effect. And so if you resonate on there being a cause and effect, then you can render evidence of it. It's all magic. It's all make believe. And it's all playful. I suddenly started seeing Nissan cubes everywhere after I saw one on Top Gear, and then I was astonished I had never seen one before because they're so distinctive. Yeah, it's so cool how the imagination works. It's very, very intelligent. It'll render evidence. You can prove anything, basically. So it's all make believe. Just like that spiritual group that, because it's only whatever you label it, because you're God, so it's all malleable and changeable. It can be anything. So you label it something, and then there can be a resonance with that, a belief in it, and then you bring more evidence of it. But poison is only poisonous if you label it that. Just like that spiritual group that realized that, and then they like blessed the poison, and then they consumed it, and it was fine. Wasn't poison. It's all make believe, because everything's the infinite. Everything is empty potential. It can be anything. It's transmutable. Everything can be transmuted. And so when I realized that, I healed my body. I did all sorts of shit. It was wild. I mean, you're only as limited as you believe yourself to be, because you are the infinite intelligence, your infinite potential. So when you open that up, it's just like, it's magic. And when I realized it was all resonance, it was all resonating on it's like a radio station, and it's playful. So you can bring evidence of anything. I used to play with it back in the day, years ago. I used to, for entertainment, I used to play with this, and I would resonate on a certain frequency and just put on this crazy entertainment show, like a TV show for myself, just for fun. For example, I was dating this Kabbalist wizard. He was like studied Kabbalah and was into magic and stuff, and I had already realized all this stuff, and like realized how malleable and magic this is, and like I had been experimenting for a while, and we were going on a date one night, and I was like, okay, just for fun, let's resonate on the frequency of it's a total freak show, just to entertain ourselves, and let's see what we can dream up or whatever. Let's see what'll appear in the magic show. And so we resonated on that frequency, and then we went out, and at the first bar we went to, this centaur walked up, this guy that was dressed as a centaur. I mean, it looked realistic. It was crazy. He had these two women on chains, and he was like spanking them or something, or whipping them, and we looked at each other and started laughing. We were like, okay, there's our freak show. And then that whole night was just crazy. So I used to play with that. Like I was always into experimenting with this and the quantum shifting and because it's infinite, it can be anything. It's not limited. It's not finite. It's not doomed. It's not, everything's healable and malleable and changeable. And you are that substratum from which the phenomenal is appearing. God seems very good at believing in time and cause and effect and separation, but it's only a model. Yeah, I see it as just playful. I mean, I remember right after my glimpse, I was like, this is all one, and this is just for fun. I remember I kept saying that because it was so obvious that this was a dream and none of it was happening. None of it was really happening. And the past has never happened. My whole life had never happened. It was just a dream, and there is no separation. And it's just one beautiful, pure, immaculate love permeating and appearing as everything. And so everything is just total perfection, all of it. Even losing yourself in the dream, identifying with the avatar in the dream, all of it is just total perfection. It's all God, it's all infinite, and it's not even really happening. Is this the apparent reason why when movies are made, production starts from the ending and work towards its apparent beginning, piecing single frames together? Ooh, I like that. That is cool. Wow. I love that. Yeah, I love the analogy of the movie in the movie theater, and the Sri Ramana used to use that a lot too, talking about the screen that never gets burned by the fire in the movie, and then even the analogy of sitting at the movie theater and forgetting that it's a movie and taking it seriously, and you're like crying and you're sitting on the edge of your seat in suspense and you're freaking out, and it's just all an analogy. It's all a beautiful wake-up call. It's a clue. Like the nightmare at night when it appears so real and there's so much resistance and so much fear happening that it wakes you up from the dream. It's so beautiful. And it's over before it begins. The alpha omega, it's not even happening. And the only suffering is reference to a past that never happened. It's referencing opposite, that's an illusion. For example, like pain is only painful and it only causes suffering if there's reference to no pain, like an illusory past when there's no pain. And I want that. That's when it's normal and that's when it's best. And it can't be this. It can't be this pain. That can't be it. And so that's what makes it appear as suffering. But it's immediately what's appearing to happen. That is everything. That is the infinite disguise is what's appearing to happen, which is you are the infinite. And it's not happening to you. It's a sensation appearing in empty spaciousness, impersonal, appearing and disappearing, fleeting, temporary. And the resistance to it is what doesn't feel good. Last night in bed, my heel kept hurting or kept being sore. And I was like, I don't care. And it didn't matter. I could still feel it. Yeah, when everything's allowed to just be as it is, it's completely free. And when there's no resistance to it. When there's resistance to it, that's when it's like the alarm system starts going off and saying, no, this isn't separate and this isn't real, this isn't happening. If there's identifying with it, that's when the alarm system goes off, which is beautiful. The intuition just knows. It wakes you up from the dream. Yeah, it's not your pain. It's just, and I even healed the body by like focusing the pure attention on the sensation without thought, without word, and it completely neutralizes it. It dissolves it back into, because it just wants to come home. So when it's being resisted, it's being pushed away, and it's like, no, you're not allowed. You're not home. You're not whole. But when it was focused on with this openness, allowed to be as it is, then it disappears. It's just allowed. It's beautiful. And everything, the sugar pill. Yeah, so your God said what you pay attention to, you create and neutralize. And what you ignore disappears. It only appears to exist when you perceive it, which is the perceiving. There's no subject object. It's just perceiving, because one can't appear without the other. It is the same. Sometimes resistance to stuff in the dream happens, and other times it doesn't. And they're both perfect, and there's no control over which one. Totally. Totally. No control over which one happens. Yeah. It just happens like the dream at night. It's amazing. Yeah, there's no individual. So there's no separate free will choice. It's like, it's one totality appearing to function as a whole. Just like the analogy of the body, where the heart's pumping and the blood's pumping and the cells are involuntarily functioning with no one controlling it or doing it. That's what everything is. It's just like doing itself. There is no doer. There is no one controlling it, and it's just spontaneously appearing and disappearing. And there's no volition or control, just like these. There's no plan. There's no intention. It's involuntary, just like these words are just spontaneously happening. There's no planning it out, or it's all arising from emptiness, empty potential, just appearing as words appearing to happen. So it's like all in this divine flow appearing to happen. And whatever's appearing to happen is what you're longing for. Even if you think you don't want it, it is what you want. Because it is you as the infinite appearing as what's appearing to happen in disguise is what's appearing to happen. And it's all whole and complete. It's all total perfection already. Everything is. So when there's no resisting it, it just is. It's just pure beingness. Nothing to change, nothing to do. Not even really happening. And it doesn't need anything. Completely content. Totally fulfilled. And the resistance is it too. The identification with being a me is it too. Is the infinite appearing as identification, appearing to have a unique experience. which is total perfection. Everything is it. Everything is freedom. You can't escape it. The seeking is it. The trying is it. The resistance is it. It's so cool too, like if you've noticed, if you've ever needed someone really bad, like desperately, you push them away. Or if you ever need something or try really hard, you push it away. It's because you already are it and you don't need anything. You are everything. And so what you resist persists because you are it already. You are everything. And the trying or the needing, it implies lack. It implies that it's not whole. So it's just like part of the wake-up call. It's like showing that not only are the finite forms and the appearances that appear and disappear, not only are they unreliable, which makes you seek for what you truly are is the infinite, that's permanent. Not only that, but like you can see very clearly that you are it, you are everything. So by needing it, it was like you were running away from yourself. Like when you chase it, it runs away. When you want to run away from it, it chases you because you are it. It's beautiful. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And it's every way of expressing. It's everything. There's no wrong or right. It's free. It's total freedom. It's wild. It's crazy. It's wild. It fucking appears as everything. There's no wrong or right. There's no wrong behavior. Everything is included. Every way of expressing this is included. You can call it nothing. You can call it God. You can call it empty fullness. You can call it boundless energy, whatever. It's everything. You can call it dog shit. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. Everything's allowed. It's all inclusive. And it's unknowing. It can't know itself because it is everything. So you can never know it. And so waiting to know it just perpetuates the searching because you're too infinite. You can't be measured. And it's like this involuntary fuck it where it's helpless. And then it's seen, oh my gosh, it's already this. It's already everything. There was nothing to get. There was nothing to do. And there was already no me. There was already no separation. But it's everything. So it includes appearing as identifying or limiting or feeling bound or all of it. It's beautiful. Total perfection. And so there's no choice whether or not, meditation happens or not. It involuntarily happens every day anyway, even if there's no like thought of I'm intending to sit here and close my eyes and practice meditation, it's still happening. Everyone does it because it's just natural. Because you are that which is without thoughts, qualities, concepts, appearing as thoughts, qualities, sensations, concepts, and everything. But trying to practice can imply that this isn't it already. And then there can be a seeing that this is it already, and everything's the meditation, everything's the practice. Everything is it. There's no one particular way, or because it's every way. It's everything. Why do they tell us to try to focus on our breath during meditation? Does it help? I also do walking meditation since I have to exercise anyway, and I focus on my footsteps then and daydream a lot. Awesome. Why do they tell us to try to focus on our breath during meditation? It's because it's taking you, when you focus, pure attention, which is what you are as pure awareness, Pada Brahman, prior to thought, prior to concept, like the analogy of the projector at the movie theater, the light that's being illuminating what's appearing to happen. When you pay attention to a sensation, you can clearly see that you are that which is prior to what's appearing to happen. You are so if it's even logical, if you look at the body, if you're aware of the body, you would be prior to the body. You're not the body. The body's not conscious of itself. So when you're focusing pure attention on breath, on the sensation of breath, you can see very clearly that you're the pure awareness prior to the appearance of breath. But you're illuminating it, because what would it be without being aware of it? It wouldn't appear to exist. You are it. You are appearing as breath. But what it does is it flips the mirror around on itself. You can see that if I'm aware of the breath, that I'm prior to it. I'm the pure awareness, aware of the breath, but I'm not separate from it. I'm illuminating it, just like the dream at night. The scene is not separate from the seer. It is the seer. And it's all just one energy. So focusing on the breath not only stops the thoughts, and it's just total silence, but it also turns the mirror back around on itself, because you can, like I was saying earlier, you can only see what you're not. You can only know what you're not. You can only be what you are. So by that pure attention on the breath, it bounces back to itself. It sees itself through the reflection of the breath, because you can only see yourself because you're invisible, the absolute, formless. You can only sense yourself through what you're not. So the sensations, or the qualities, or the appearance of form. So you're like illuminating it, rendering it, creating it while observing it, but also through that silence, that silent attention, without thought, without word, focused only on the sensation, you can sense what you are. That stillness that pervades everything, that silence that appears as sound, the formless that appears as form, without qualities, appearing as infinite qualities. So by focusing attention on one sensation, the mirror can turn around on itself, and you can see that you're the absolute. And you can only see that through the mirror of what you're not, which is so beautiful. because you can't be seen or known. And you're appearing as this breath so that you can see yourself and you can experience yourself as infinite capacity. And all of that is just a beautiful concept, because what is anything without a concept, without a thought? So it swallows itself. It contradicts itself because it's singular. It's singular, so everything contradicts because it's one. And then when it's seen as one and not even, that destroys even the concept of a paradox. Yay, guys, that was so fun. Love you. Mwah. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. We'll do it at 10, or no, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. next Tuesday. Yay! It's amazing. It's amazing. Nothing needs to be done. This is already free. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you. Mwah. Bye, guys. Much love. Thank you, Vince. Yay. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Dave.